Man, when I think about high school, I would definitely say working in such a large organization, those interpersonal skills, being able to communicate and present in front of people, especially in a digital world, those are things that we're noticing that are becoming more and more pivotal, right? And important. I would definitely say volunteer, gain experience. Like, I remember she brings up MTV. I made no money, right? But it was like the coolest experience ever. Working for MTV, understanding their strategy, being a part of their marketing programs, working in New York City. Sometimes I will say, don't let the money drive you. Don't let that be your motivating factor. I want to essentially bring someone on board who is great to work with, who's open to learning. Where I am now is not what I initially planned. And so being open to different changes, and I've worked in different industries, pharmaceutical, media, banking, now Michelin. And so be open, volunteer in your community. The first job I got out of college, I was working for a nonprofit in New Jersey, and I didn't know what I would get from it, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. I knew it was my opportunity. Did I ever think that particular politician would be a senator right now? Did I ever think the project management skills I would get, my ability to understand government at that time? I didn't even realize how it would trickle over into where I am now. And so be open to all of those different things in your community, whether it's a food bank, whether it's you taking the lead on a project to help someone, whether it's revamping their website, going online and just learning something on your own. The tools that you all have now, I didn't have. Like, it wasn't just a YouTube away. We might have had MySpace and we were doing a little coding, right? But you guys have so many tools at your disposal, and learn and take that initiative, because I don't care how you learned it. I just want to know that you're open to learning it. And so that's one, a few things I would give feedback on.
One of the greatest things that going to an Uplift school taught me was really like how to study. I don't know any other way to say it, but I'm sure you all study a lot. But that was one of the greatest things that I took away from my high school experience. Of course, I mean, extracurriculars like sports are cool, but also just the community service aspect. I think we had a graduation requirement of maybe 100 hours. Like, Nathan, do you remember? But that was tremendously helpful, especially going to college. And my college that I went to was community service like centered. I went to Spelman College, a historically Black college and university, and it's all women, but service was at the core of our like mission. So it kind of inspired me for my collegiate career. It was always a part of it, but learning how to study in high school helped me tremendously. And I could, there were some of my like peers in college that didn't really know how to study from high school. They didn't really need to. So I thought that it was to my advantage.
So I was noticing some of the Q&A that's popping up on screen, and a lot of folks are asking, is college important? And different angles of that. And based on Gabrielle's answer, I think you can understand that college is important because it differentiates you from other candidates that may be applying for the position. The other comment that Gabrielle made was people with experience would be important or prioritized higher. But if you don't have experience, what can you substitute that with? You can substitute that with knowledge. So I've been exposed to it, I've learned it, I've interned, I have a mentor, sort of like Doug was talking about in this space. So that is a way that you can use a college education, even a trip to community college. There's a lot of strong support that you can get there to differentiate yourself from other candidates who are applying for a similar position.
There's sort of this expectation and this pressure at times to kind of know, right outside of high school, when you get into college, you have to know exactly the trajectory to take and go from point A to point B. And I think for many of us, that's not how it happens. A lot of times it's more of an organic process, and really that's the beauty of things like internships or different types of experiences, is trying to figure out where you fit within the industry. especially for the art world. Something that I've learned is, and I wish I knew when I was your age, is that it's such a massive industry. And I think a lot of people would agree in their own respective careers that there's so many different areas you can go into. And I think that's the beauty of things like internships, even in college, to kind of figure out what makes you happiest within that world. I personally started off studying art history in college. I ended up graduating and I got really lucky, just kind of through connections, and became a director at an art gallery here in Dallas. And from there, kind of realized I needed to go to graduate school to do what I wanted to do in my career, but really wanted that work experience to make sure that commitment was worth it for me, which I would highly recommend if you were looking to continue your education.
I'm a first generation of my family going to college. I'm also the first one in my family to move to the States. I'm from Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. And so being Latino, not knowing English back when I started, also I come from a poor family, and usually you don't see, or it's not the most common thing for people that are from a poor background to become doctors, So all that plus my passion to help animals, that kept me motivated. Also for me, I'm openly gay, and to me it's important to show in our community that, hey, we can all be different and support each other, and you can be awesome. So it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, just push yourself. And it's a lot of work, but it can be done.
I didn't take a single course in electrical engineering throughout my studies into graduate school through my doctorate. And so I came upon this field by chance 37 years ago, and I've been hooked on it. So you just never know where your career is going to take you, but do what's in your heart, or it really doesn't work any other way. And I just kept doing what I was passionate about and what was in my heart. And I found an opportunity that I've loved now for 37 plus years.
I actually did not graduate from college until 2019. I had my son, and I fully focused on him and kind of put college to the side. So in the meantime, I gained experience. And so I had all the experience in the world, but yet I didn't get that coveted leadership position, or maybe I got it, but I didn't get the pay that that someone with a college education did. So college is definitely important. It's not a requirement, no, but it's definitely important, and I will always push it because that's why I finished it. So that's my advice, is to definitely gain the experience, but at the same time, make sure you take the right steps now to go through college, lace yourself with the information that you need, and it'll equip you for roles like I have now, later in your life.
But for me, the number one thing I look for when I'm hiring someone, particularly like junior staff, is, and the best way I know how to describe it is just this like hunger in your belly to learn and figure out more. Like if you have a question, number one, will you Google it before you ask it? And you're all probably thinking, gosh, of course I would Google it. But I get so many emails from team members that are so well-intentioned that are asking about, what's the phone number for this client? What's the email address for this client? And I just Google it and then find the answer and send it, right? So that like kind of innate, like it's just naturally in you to just want to dig something out and discover and learn and grow, and versus, just immediately asking the question. That for me, I feel like every other skill that you need to be successful, in PR, you can learn on the job, but that kind of innate hunger, natural curiosity to just kind of like get in there and figure it out, that's the number one thing. And I feel like you can kind of sense it when you meet somebody, and there are some questions you can ask to get to the heart of that, but that's the number one thing. The rest of it we can learn as we go. But like, will you Google it? Like, that's so important. Will you Google it before you ask?
Since I came to the States, I have learned that a lot of Latinos don't know Spanish, and a lot of Latinos feel judged because of that, because they're not bilingual. They only know English. And I mean, I can understand why, but I don't think anyone should feel bad for knowing just English, I mean, English is the most important language in the world anyway. But I think it would be cool that if you have that background in Spanish and you're not fully bilingual, then probably pushing yourself to learn a second language, it definitely helps opening or giving you more opportunities because of being bilingual, I have found so many more opportunities in life that if I only knew English, you know. And actually, I think Dr. Liam, he knows 4 languages. I'm sure he has had plenty of opportunities because of that. So, but once again, being Latino doesn't mean that you have to know Spanish. It means that you're proud of your heritage, you know?
Find people that are there to support you and keep you going. And it sounds super cliche, but I feel like the successful people in the world are not the ones that never failed. It's the ones that have always picked themselves back up. I guarantee that everyone here, everyone hosting, all of us, we've all failed and we will continue to fail, but it's what we do after the failure that makes us successful more than anything.
To put motivation, a lot of it comes within. You gotta understand that it takes time. You can't solve everything in one day. So one day at a time, try to improve yourself like at least 1% a day. So you're not gonna change the world in one day, right? So that's how you gotta attack it. It's day by day and take it as it is. You know, sometimes you could be very, like for me, I feel sometimes I can be very productive one day and then the next day, not so much. But as long as I continue moving towards my goal, even if it's not in a steep incline, right? But even if it's kind of jagged up, I'm still moving towards the goal. And that's what you need to keep in mind, is always know that there's a goal and that you're trying to get to, even through the good and bad, because there's always going to be stress. There's always going to be outside pressure, the pressure you put on yourself. But as long as you stay centered and continue moving forward, that even if it takes longer than what you thought it would take, as long as you're moving towards your goal, I think that's the best advice I could give you.